We're at Petrangrung, and I'm going to interview Emma of Under the Ropes. And she came to train with me today, which makes me super happy. So we're sweaty and disgusting at the moment, which makes for better interviews. So, hello, Emma.
Hey.
So, why don't you start by telling me kind of what's going on with your Muay Thai right now?
It's difficult to say, really, because I mean, my last fight was, well, it was supposed to be like a month ago. My last actual fight was the beginning of October, so everything's kind of slowed down. 2015 hasn't really been a particularly good year, like at least the second half of it hasn't been. Everything's kind of slowed down with my fighting, in my gym. All of my training partners went home this year. Like I had a really good team for like 2 years, and they've all one by one gone back home. So everything's changing at the moment, I don't know.
And that's, I mean, you would say that's kind of typical of Thailand just because people have very different time periods here and commitment to what they're doing. And
well, yeah, everybody's on a temporary lifestyle. Nobody plans to be here for forever.
Right.
And I get people who come back to the gym every year, or you know, they come back after 3 years and they're like, "You're still here?" Like, yep, still doing the same thing, because it's not that common, especially in a gym like my gym, like a really like Falang gym. Like people don't really stay to just fight.
But for a while there, you did have people who were there for more than a year, right?
Yep.
So, did you experience that when you first came in? Like, does it go through cycles, or did you really just have like a sweet spot for a little while?
When I first came in, it was like a group of kind of tourists, people who were there on tourist visas for a few months, and then I was the one that stayed.
Mm.
And I went through a period of a year or 2 years where I was certainly the only girl in the gym, and everybody else was just kind of cycling through. But it was really good. It was really like it had a really good energy. And then a team came in, and we kind of all just stayed for 2 years. And now it's kind of disintegrated again. So it's like a new cycle.
Tell me about your last fight that actually got canceled for the King's birthday.
I was really looking forward to that one because it was an all-female show on the King's birthday, and I just fought on the similar promotion for the Queen's birthday, and I felt like I wanted to like not redeem myself because I enjoyed the fight and it was a decent fight, but I really wanted to do better. And I figured that was a really good opportunity a couple of months later. So training for it was really good. I was really excited. I felt really good for the fight, and then a few weeks before we had like a press conference.
You have to describe that press conference.
Yeah. Where do I start with that? Well, it's just really typically Thai in that they were like, turn up at 8 o'clock. So I turned up at 8:45, and still nothing happened until like at least 10:30. And then kind of girls came in, and then the promoter was like, you can fight that girl. And I was like, she looks kind of big. And he was like, what do you weigh today? And I was like, well, it's not really relevant because we're fighting at 51, right? So if she's 51, that's cool. And he was like, she's 55. She can't make 51, so why don't you weigh in at 53 and she weighs in at 52? And I had nobody there with me. I went on my own, so I didn't really have anyone to kind of, I wasn't really in a position to bargain, I felt like, and I'm not very good at doing these things anyway.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, I'm terrible. So I was just like, all right, like, we've got a few weeks, I'll talk to my trainers when we get home, and then, you know, we'll call them and we'll deal with it, whatever. And anyway, she was quite a bit taller, but I was like, you know, fine, I can fight her. But the agreement was she would cut down to 52, whereas I could weigh in at 53, which is, you know, fairly above my fight weight anyway. Like, I'm 53 now, and I'm like way bigger than I should be. And then the day of the fight, turned up to the weigh-in, again, first one there. She turned up late. She was the very last one to turn up, and she was 54.5.
So had not tried at all.
It's not even that she couldn't make weight, it's that she literally hadn't even tried to do it. So 2.5 kilos, like, it's pretty hefty considering she was supposed to be 55 3 weeks ago.
Right.
So it's like, what's happened since then? And her dad was like, she was sick, and I'm like, you know, when you're sick, you usually lose weight, right? So also it's not really relevant. Like, if you're that amount over, you knew like at least a week ago you weren't gonna make weight.
Right.
So, and if it was any other show, like if we were fighting in just any old stadium, I'd be like, whatever, you know, let's fight, because we don't weigh in anyway. But it was just kind of the principle of it, they were just fucking around.
Yeah.
And the promoter was like, You know, he was like, well, she can only cut 1 kilo. And then she went running, and then she sweated off like 400. And then, so not even half of what she was supposed to lose. And they were like, all right. I was like, no, this actually isn't okay. And then we were like, okay, so can you just get me another opponent? And he was like, I don't have anyone. So we left, and then when we got home, we called and we were like, nah, we're not gonna take this fight because you're kind of fucking around with us. Like, if it had been me who came in overweight, you would absolutely maybe cut the weight or forfeit some of my purse or something. But just because they just didn't want me to win, you know, which is that's what it's like being the Falang anyway. But you know, but specifically with this promoter, I feel like he's just always like that.
It was a bit of a messy event.
It was seriously messy.
It was a lot of money, but very messy.
Yeah.
But so we were just, like this morning when we were training, Pinu came in and said that my opponent changed. This is 2 days before my fight, really. So clearly there are things in Thailand that are very chaotic, that change all the time. Like, things go up and down and you kind of get used to it. I think when you first come, it's kind of like, why is this so crazy?
Yeah.
And then you get really used to it and you let a lot go. But then some things happen that you're like, it's the principle of it, and no. So how do you kind of define the difference between the, like, that is the everyday chaos of Thailand, of which there is a lot, and the stuff that you don't let go, that you do, like, take a stand on?
I mean, it was hard for me to walk away from that fight for that reason, because, you know, I fight girls with a bigger weight difference than that anyway, usually. But it was just because there had been an agreement, like, they had a month to either find a girl my weight or for that girl to lose weight, and, you know, we'd agreed to do it. It's different when you just turn up and you fight whoever's there, because most fights, I don't know about you, but like half the time I don't know who I'm fighting, and I just turn up and that's just a given, you know. And a lot of people who first come in, they're like, what? You know, but I guess when you're here for a while, it just becomes the norm. But because what's the point in us meeting up, having this press conference and taking all these photos and making all these promises if you're just not going to stand by it? So for me, that's why I just didn't want to take it in the end, because that promoter, he's kind of tried to get one over on me a few times, and this was kind of the last straw for it. And I knew that, I mean, he probably won't ask me to fight again, that's probably what will happen, but it was either that or he can get me decent fights next time. So whichever.
So what's your comment on the kind of impetus that promoters have to put Farang on their show versus the way that Farang are kind of treated on shows?
I don't know, especially when you look at things like Max Muay Thai that we're going to today, because Tu's fighting on that today. They make it like such a big, like, Farang versus Thai thing, but it really seems like they just want the Farang to get knocked out. Like, especially the way they urge them to be, like, aggressive. Like, if you're aggressive, you're gonna win, and do all this fancy, spinny, backwards stuff, so the Thais can make you look bad. But, I mean, that's not your normal show. But I mean, in, like, if we're talking about the smaller ones like Asiatique or MBK, where they like get foreigners in, like, it looks like they're trying to build like low-level fighters there. Those kind of shows seem to be okay. Like, I seem like they seem to be decent matchups there. But on the bigger shows, you just see some ridiculous matchups.
This is interesting to me because there's like, we go into it with this kind of understanding of like, well, it's not in my favor, or some of these shows are a little bit ridiculous in that they're trying to be kind of like showy in a way. So you go into it knowing that it's like that. And so there's this kind of like low level tolerance of things being a little bit not stand up. But then there's like actual nefarious shit going on that you like draw a line at, that you're like, no, that's...
Yeah, and it's hard to do that because you're so used to just dealing with it. Like, just walking in against opponents that are bigger than you or have like 300 fights, and you're like, well, okay. So, and then I started to question myself when I actually did walk away from that fight, because I'm like, well, you know, if it had just been a normal fight, I would have fought her anyway. But I feel like it was the right thing to do. To walk away.
It's also important to have like your support behind you.
Well, yeah.
So how would you advise people who haven't yet spent years in Thailand and don't know how to read whether their gym is behind them or not, really? How would you advise people to navigate the crazy of things that are kind of like totally tolerable, moderate things, and then things that you really need to look out for?
That's a really difficult question because it's so complicated, and especially when you first come here and you you could be here for 10 years and not like understand Thai culture, but I mean, especially when you first come here and you really don't get it, and you don't know how to read people, and with that promoter particularly, I can talk to him and know that he's like, the smile he's giving me is just like completely fake. But sometimes when you come here, you first come here and you just don't get that. You think that people are really behind you, and I mean, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm naive, I don't know, but it's difficult. I think as long as you really trust the people that are going to be cornering you, I think you'll be okay. But with promoters, like, I feel like most of the time the promoter has it in for you as a Farang, so I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. So I mean, as long as you trust your corner and your teammates, like, I think there's nothing else you can go on.
So right now every gym goes through cycles, like they have highs and lows, and it's not like when things change they've always been that way and you just didn't see it or anything like that. But for you personally, what do you need from a gym to feel supported and like you're getting what you need out of it and like this is a good gym?
Just, you need to feel like the people around you like want you to get better. After a fight, they need to be picking out what you did wrong or what you did well and work on that. It's not just, it can't just be stagnant. It has to be, things have to be moving. You just have to feel like they're invested in your progress, whether it be like your sparring partners or your trainers. Like, if you feel like they're just not paying attention and they're not really bothered whether you get better or whether you get the level of training that you need or not, like, then it's time to go somewhere else probably.
Who's been the best trainer that you've had?
That's hard to say because I've had a couple of really, really good ones, and like you say, people go through cycles. Like, my first proper trainer, he was Saming Noi Sortanikul, and he was amazing, really, really good trainer, and I'm still good friends with him now, but as a lot of trainers do, he just started drinking a lot. So I mean, it's not that he's not a great trainer, it's just his life, he wasn't really about that anymore. He may be totally different now. He's been training in other places for the last couple of years, and maybe that was just a low point and he's cycled back again. But after him, I started training with this other guy called Kru Singh, and he was incredible. I had a really good couple of years with him, and I felt like we were like a really awesome team. But I also feel like he's cycling out again too, so I don't know, maybe it's a period of change I'm in right now. Maybe I don't know what's gonna happen next.
Well, you've recently made some changes. You moved out of living at the gym, which is a huge difference between like coming down the stairs to where your gym is and like taking the train or whatever. But so you're making changes for yourself, but 2015 was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of things being chaotic and the fights that you were and weren't able to get. What do you want in 2016 in order, like, for what you are now? Because it's not like just making up for last year, like you changed.
Well, in the last year, like, I've been fighting better opponents, but my training hasn't correlated with that. If anything, my training's been going in the opposite direction. So I just need to feel like people are behind me, and I honestly don't really feel that right now. But as long as people are getting me fights, getting me good fights, and wanting me to win them, because sometimes you're in a gym and you feel like your trainers don't really care if you win the fight or not.
Right.
So that's all I need, is for someone to be invested in my progress.
And so you're currently kind of trying to situate yourself, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard at the moment, like everything's been changing. So I moved out of the gym because I figured like a change of environment would help me see what I wanted, what I needed, what else I needed to change. But the place I moved to is I can just run to the gym from there. It's not far. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Has the change opened your eyes to how many gyms were around? Because when you're happy at a place, you don't actually look. So you don't realize, like, oh my God, that gym was like 4 blocks from me this whole time. Yeah,
I mean, because I never looked at other gyms at all. One thing I have noticed when I was looking at gyms is like there's a lot of those, I don't really know what to call them, those like high-so
yeah, what would you call that
fitness
in English?
Muay Thai gyms,
Yeah.
you know?
Or like
That-
expensive.
Yeah, that, like you and Lindsay had both written about how that was like a thing. And there was more of those popping up. There's so many of those around now that I didn't notice. I feel like more have opened in the last year or so, but I wasn't paying attention to those. Because now when you look up gyms, you have to like... Because there was a gym that I looked at that was like, oh cool, this is down the road. And then I looked at it and was like, even the trainers don't even know how to kick, you know? It's just a fitness gym.
Yeah.
So,
This is a hard thing though for people who are first coming to Thailand, is that you're not here, right? So you're just trying to like find where you're gonna go. And if a gym has a website, they're comfortable with having Westerners there. So if people want to come to like a super authentic, like I want to be the only Farang there kind of thing, you're not gonna find them on Facebook.
No. So
like,
how do you find it? You know, it's really just word of mouth.
Yeah.
Usually. I mean, there are websites like Muay Thailand and stuff that have, Muay Thai camps or something that like list most of the gyms and like you can get reviews on there and stuff. But when you're looking at that, you don't even know where to start. Like for a start, it's like, where do you even want to be in Thailand? It's hard for me to say that, and I've lived in Bangkok for nearly 5 years. So I don't know how anyone first coming to Thailand even decides.
Yeah, but you did. Like at one point, you first came to Thailand.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was backpacking, and I went to a gym on like an island, which is kind of what you'd expect. It was like, it was decent training, but like it wasn't anywhere I would have stayed long term. And then I went to Chiang Mai, and it was just the second gym I ever tried, and I just liked it, so I never went anywhere else. But then when I moved to Bangkok, which wasn't by choice, it was just my work, I had to go. And then I realized, like, wow, I didn't learn shit in that gym before. Like, and they wanted me to fight there.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, you can fight. And I was like, wow, I really couldn't have done. But it's funny what hindsight and perspective will give you sometimes. Because I thought that was really good at the time. And then when I left, I realized, like, doing the same combination of pad work all the time. And, like, we spar on Mondays and Fridays. Like, no, that sucks. Like, that's not good enough.
Yeah.
But
I feel like people have a hard time trusting their instincts. Like they always want, we have, you know, being online, we have good resources. We try to offer good resources and offer people advice and forums where they can talk to other people.
Yeah.
But generally, when I get these messages from women who are like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's probably not. Like if it
exactly.
doesn't feel right, it's not right. But if you're happy, you don't have to look for like, is this wrong?
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to reveal itself and you're like, oh, now it's time to move on or like whatever. Like when you were in Chiang Mai, you were not like, this training is shit. It's just when you looked at it back, you're like, that's not for me anymore.
Yeah,
like you've
exactly.
developed.
At the time, it was great. But
Yeah. The grommets are here.
But we do get a lot of posts on the forum of like women who are like, this seems strange, like my trainer's doing this or my sparring partners are doing this and it doesn't feel good. Should I complain? Should I do this? I'm like, well, if it doesn't feel good, then it's not, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, people have a hard time being confident enough to actually call people out on it or to move to a different gym. They feel like, I don't know, maybe they don't know that they'll be able to get better training somewhere else or for a lot of people it's like, I feel really loyal to this gym and it's like, but if they're treating you like shit, don't, you know?
I think there are big differences between kind of an intuitive feeling of things not being right and then strangeness. Like if you're in a foreign place and you don't know what people are saying and all of these things, there's strangeness that makes you uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to be around people you don't know. But then there's this kind of like, there's something like that's not right kind of thing. Like I feel groped or something.
Well, yeah.
And then you can be in comfortable places where you're like, this stuff happens all the time, but it's kind of not, it's not a big deal. Like to you.
Like if you feel that it's wrong, if it makes you uncomfortable, then like you don't have to put up with it.
Yeah. You know? Like having children in the ring.
Yeah.
All right. We'll wrap it up there. Thank you, Emma.
All right.
And let's go get some food.
Okay.